Hello everyone, and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Will could not believe it. He stood in the midst of the living room devastation, shattered lamp, toppled coffee table, faint metallic odor of blood still clinging to the rug, and glanced at the ultrasound snapshot Luna had left behind as a calling card. 8 weeks. A little bean-shaped shadow with a fluttering heartbeat that had stopped. The date on top was 3 days old. 3 days. She had known for at least that long, bore the sadness alone, and still had time to shout at him about his late nights, his emotional absence, and his refusal to choose a paint color for a nursery they had never agreed to create. His phone vibrated on the floors, where it had landed during their quarrel. Unknown number. He almost disregarded it before swiping. Mr. Harlow? We need to speak with Detective Serrano of the Los Angeles Police Department about an event that occurred at Cedars-Sinai this morning. Do you still live on Crescent Heights? Will's stomach fell into the bottoms of his feet. What type of incident? We'll explain once we arrive. Please stay there. The call went dead. He took another look at the sonogram. The paper trembled in his hands. Luna had fled 20 minutes ago, barefoot, clutching her handbag and sweatshirt, tears smearing her mascara like war paint. She had yelled something about him never believing her anyhow, and that this was the ultimate proof he only cared about himself. Then the door slammed, and she was gone. Now, the cops were approaching. Will's imagination raced through every imaginable outcome, each one worse than the last. Assault charge? She had thrown the lamp at him, and he had a cut on his forearm to prove it. Theft. She had retrieved the engagement ring he had placed in the drawer for next month. Or worse, God forbid, had she harmed herself after leaving? He imagined her on the restroom floor of a petrol station, bleeding out as he stood here like an idiot holding a ghost's first portrait. The doorbell rang. Officially, it was 2 short spurts. Will opened it to discover a broad-shouldered Latina in a navy jacket and a younger investigator whose tie was already loosened at 10 a.m. William Harlow? He nodded. May we come inside? He stood aside. Serrano's gaze swept across the devastation, lingered on the blood-stained rug, and then fell on the ultrasound he was still holding. Is it yours? She asked. It's complicated. Everything with Luna Voss appears to be, the younger one mumbled. Will's pulse pounded in his ears. What is this about? Serrano did not respond right away. She strolled to the couch, swept away a sprinkle of shattered glass with her sneaker, and sat down. A woman who matched Luna Voss's description arrived at Cedars-Sinai's emergency room at 8:47 a.m. today with significant vaginal bleeding. She informed the triage nurse that she was 8 weeks pregnant and miscarrying. She said your name as the father. Will felt the room tilt. She was taken back immediately, Serrano said. While the resident was doing an exam, surveillance film captured Ms. Voss getting off the gurney, dressed, and leaving through a staff exit before any blood work or ultrasound could be conducted. She left this behind. Serrano reached into an evidence bag and withdrew a second sonogram photo, the same one Will was holding. Will stared at it. The same date. Same blurry image. Same clinic stamp. She took a blank ultrasound report? He heard himself ask. Or she could print one herself, the younger detective suggested. The clinic confirmed that no patients named Luna Voss had appointments this week. In fact, there is no record of her ever being seen there. Will sunk onto the armrest of the damaged couch. The gash on his arm was bleeding again. A single drop slipped down his wrist and fell onto the floors like a slow red tear. There's more, Serrano murmured, sounding gentler. The ER nurse observed bruises on Ms. Voss' inner thighs. Fresh. She asked Luna if she wanted to talk with a victim's advocate. Luna chuckled, genuinely laughed, and said, he didn't do anything I didn't ask for. Then she went away. Will closed his eyes. 2 nights ago. The night before, she had cried in his arms about needing to feel something real, pleading with him to be harder to prove he still desired her despite the previous conflict. He declined at first. She scratched at his back till he gave in. He remembered how she moaned, whispered harder, and then smiled like a cat that had swallowed every canary in the city. She set me up, he replied with a hollow voice. Possibly, Serrano conceded. We are examining a possible fraudulent report. If she filed one, which we believe she did anonymously just before coming here this morning, it is a misdemeanor. However, the bruising complicates things. We have to rule out domestic violence. Will laughed, his voice dry and cracked. Do you think I beat her so badly that she miscarried? We haven't thought about anything yet, Serrano stated. We investigate. The younger detective was already photographing the living room, the blood on the rug, and the slice on Will's arm where the lamp had grabbed him. I will review the ultrasound again. That's small bean. It made no difference whether it was real or false. Luna's expression of anguish, when she initially revealed it to him 20 minutes earlier, appeared convincing. She had slumped against his chest, sobbing that she was afraid to tell him because he never wanted this anyway. He had held her in shock, whispering that they would sort it out together. Then she saw a spark of doubt on his face, and everything detonated. He recognized now that was precisely the moment she decided to flee. His phone vibrated again. This time, the text came from an unknown number. I apologize. I simply wanted you to care. Tell them anything you need to. I will not fight it. He presented it to Serrano. She read it without expression and bagged the phone. We'll need you to come in for a formal statement, the woman replied. And we'll need DNA from the rug. If there's fetal tissue, there won't be, Will interrupted. She is not pregnant. She never was. You sound certain. I've known Luna for 18 months. Everything is a performance. Tears, bruises, and the baby, all of them. She collects reactions in the same way that others collect art. Serrano took a close look at him. People don't usually fake miscarriages, Mr. Harlow. Luna does. The cops exchanged a look that Will couldn't read. A news van was already approaching. Someone had tipped them up, most likely Luna. Will saw a reporter adjust her headset and mouth his address into a camera. His life was about to make headlines. Tech CEO accused of causing girlfriend's miscarriage. Girlfriend flees the hospital in tears. He wondered where Luna was now. Probably in a fancy hotel with a phony identity, sipping rose and refreshing her mentions while the story broke on Twitter. She would wait until he was completely impaled before reappearing with a tear-stained TikTok, claiming she was too terrified to file charges, that she simply wanted peace, and that she had never intended for any of this to happen. The internet would proclaim her the ultimate victim. She would receive a book deal, a podcast, and a GoFundMe for healing, while he would be left with 2 phony ultrasounds and a lifetime exile from polite society. Will gazed at Detective Serrano. You are wasting your time studying me. She is already 3 moves ahead. Then help us catch up, Serrano responded. Tell us everything. And he did. He told them about the first time Luna cried wolf, how she pretended to be a stalker to get him to install cameras, then used footage of herself crying on the balcony to trick him into proposing sooner. He informed them about the pregnancy scare wife had 6 months ago, which turned out to be a drugstore test with an additional line scribbled on it with a pink Sharpie. He told them about the night she cut her own arm with a kitchen knife and told the ER he did it during a psychotic break, only to back down when confronted with a countersuit. He described love with Luna as quicksand disguised as a feather bed, smooth and pleasant until you discovered you were drowning, at which point she had already begun photographing your struggle for content. When he was done, the room was quiet save for the distant shouts of reporters outside. Serrano closed the notebook. We'll need medical records, text messages, anything you have. I have all of it, Will assured me. Years of it. The younger detective's expression was almost sympathetic. Why stay? Will remembered Luna's mouth from the first time she kissed him and how she tasted like champagne and danger. She could make him laugh so hard that his ribs hurt 1 minute and then make him question his sanity. He felt seen in a manner that no one else had. Because, he explained, for about 30 seconds every few months, she is real. Serrano arose. And I've spent 2 years chasing those 30 seconds. We are issuing a locate and hold order for Ms. Voss. If she contacts you, do not respond. Call us right away. Will nodded. Serrano hesitated as they proceeded near the entrance. For what it's worth, I believe you. He offered her a tired smile. That makes one of us. When they went, Will stood alone in the ruins. He removed the second ultrasound from the evidence bag they had left for processing and turned it over. On the back, Luna's looping handwriting reads, I truly wanted it to be true this time. He looked at the words until they blurred. Then he took both images, strolled to the kitchen, and dumped them into the sink's garbage disposal one after the other. The machine snarled and shouted, as if it were biting bones. When it was finished, he poured himself a drink while shaking his hands, waiting for the next act to begin. Luna was most likely doing the same somewhere across the city, smiling that secret smile she kept for when she knew she'd won. The cops would locate her eventually. Or they would not. Regardless, the plot had already been written, and both of them had major roles for which they had never auditioned. Will raised his glass towards the empty room. To the baby that never was, he said. Outside, the media continued to shout his name, but inside, for the first time in 18 months, the house was quiet. Will stood immobile in the dim light that filtered through the half-drawn curtains, his breathing shallow and his shoulders stiff as stone. He had been replaying Luna's shaky confession in his head all morning, each syllable hitting him like a shard of ice in the pit of his stomach. She claimed she had lost the baby. She had muttered it, arms curled about herself, unable to meet his gaze. The instant she spoke, Will felt the room tilt. He wasn't sure if he was feeling grief, wrath, doubt, or a horrible blend of the three. It wasn't only the miscarriage that startled him, it was the uncertainty. With Luna, nothing was ever straightforward or linear. Secrets nestled underneath secrets, and each truth she revealed had a tiny hint of something else beneath it. And now this? A miscarriage? A tragedy, if true. Otherwise, it is a manipulation. He walked the living room once more, his hands buried in his hair, the wooden floor cracking beneath his hurried strides. The house felt oppressively quiet. Luna was in the bedroom, and the door was closed. She had shut it shortly after her confession, appealing softly through the wood to be left alone. Will rubbed his forehead. He wished he could be the kind of man who just believed her, who accepted her grief at face value. But too many lies had salted the ground between them. Too many nights had ended with Luna storming out and returning hours later with justifications that did not quite fit. Too many times had he trusted her only to find that trust broken like porcelain under pressure. The silence was broken as the bedroom door opened. Luna stepped out slowly, her face pallid and her lips pulled together in a tight line. She appeared smaller than normal, frail even, wearing one of his huge sweaters that extended past her hips. Her eyes glistened, not with tears, but with something tense and incomprehensible. Will, she said softly, her voice hoarse. Can we chat now? He turned to face her, every muscle in his body clenching. Talk. Luna, I've been trying to comprehend all you told me. You don't just drop something like that and walk away. She shuddered and crossed her arms. I needed space. I still do. Will shook his head. I want to believe you. I really do. But you need to understand why I'm battling. I wasn't even sure you were pregnant. You repeatedly avoided the tests. Every time I asked about your symptoms, you shifted the subject. Her eyes flashed. I wasn't ready to tell you then. His tone became sharper. He despised himself for it, but the words came anyhow. Is this real, Luna? Is this another ploy to get me back on your side? Because every time things go apart between us, something big happens. She took a deep breath, her hands quivering. Do you believe I made up losing our baby to manipulate you? The rawness in her voice was either genuine pain or the most compelling performance she had ever given. Will couldn't decide. I don't know what to think, he admitted gently. I am trying, but nothing makes sense right now. Luna took a step back, clutching the fabric of the sweater at her chest. I knew you wouldn't believe me. You didn't give me anything to work with, Will told me. If you'd told me sooner, if you'd been honest maybe, she interrupted him. I was afraid. I'm afraid of losing you, afraid of everything. Now look at you. You're treating me like a liar again. Maybe you should quit lying. He snapped. That did it. Her look crumbled, and she turned aside, biting her trembling lips. Will almost reached for her. He wanted to touch her and console her, but the cracks between them kept increasing until the gap seemed impossible to bridge. Luna wiped her eyes. I need air. She took a step toward the front door. Before she could reach it, a beating shook the wood. Both froze. 3 hefty, stinging blows. Will's heart lurched. Who the hell? Luna Hart. A voice projected through the door. This is the police. We'd like to speak with you. Luna's whole body froze. Her breath hitched audibly, and she lurched backwards, panic filling her face.
No. No, no, no.
Why are they here? I didn't do anything. Will looked at her. Luna, what's happening? She shook her head fiercely and took a step back toward the hallway. I can't be here. They can't find me. Luna, what have you done? I did not do anything. She cried, her voice cracking. I swear. But I can't handle them. I can't. More beating. Miss Hart, please open the door. Will approached her. Luna, you should stay. Running will make things worse. But she was already shaking violently, her breath coming in quick, short gasps. I cannot. I can't speak to them. I have to leave. Luna, she swung around and dashed down the hallway to the back of the house. Will growled under his breath and took a step towards her, but the pounding on the door grew louder. Sir, we know that someone is inside. Please open the door. He ran his palm over his face. If he didn't open it, they might dismantle it. But if he did, Luna would vanish, leaving him with more questions, confusion, and uncertainty. Another thud from behind the house. A window slides open. Will's pulse raced as he rushed to the front door. He pulled it open gently and gingerly. 2 officers stood on the porch, their demeanor neutral yet watchful. Good morning, sir, the older cop stated. We are looking for Luna Hart. We have a few inquiries about an event that occurred early this morning. Will struggled to maintain a steady voice. What type of incident? We're looking into a disturbance near Hollow Creek, the officer said. There were indications that a woman matching Ms. Hart's description fled the scene. We are not coming to arrest her. We simply need to chat with her. Hollow Creek. Will felt his stomach drop. Luna had gone out last night following another dispute. He believed she went for a drive to clear her mind. What about Hollow Creek? That location was remote, rarely visited, and was known for occasional problems. The younger officer observed him intently. Is Miss Hart inside the home? Will hesitated. Should he protect her? Should he say the truth? What exactly was the truth anymore? Before he could respond, a faint crash rang out from the side of the house. The cops instantly turned to face the sound. What was that? The older one inquired. Will exhaled sharply. Back window. She's attempting to flee. Both officers moved quickly down the porch stairs. Will followed, confused and terrified. They came around the corner just in time to see Luna rushing across the yard, bare feet kicking up dirt and her hair whipping behind her. She looked afraid, more like a hunted animal than the woman he loved. Luna! Will yelled. Stop. She did not. If anything, she moved quicker. Miss Hart, stop. One cop called out. But Luna rushed herself for the fence opening, squeezed through, and fled down the short woodland trail beyond the property. The officers pursued her, eventually disappearing. Will stood on the edge of the yard, chest heaving and head hammering. He wasn't sure what worried him more, Luna being apprehended, or whatever had pushed her to flee in the first place. Moments later, the younger officer reappeared and jogged back towards him. She is speedy. We lost visual. Will gulped hard, dread building in his stomach. Sir, the officer responded, we need to find her. We are examining an occurrence that may have caused injury to another person. We're not accusing her, but we want to know what happened. If you hear from her, please contact us quickly. Will nodded stiffly, his thoughts racing with 1,000 unresolved concerns. I'll let you know, the police said before leaving to explore the area in their patrol cruiser. Will stood motionless for a long time, staring at the point where Luna had vanished. The morning breeze murmured through the trees, bringing with it an eerie silence. A massive weight crushed against his chest, choking him. The lady he loved, the woman he had been trying to understand and trust, had just fled from the police. And no matter what she was hiding, what happened at Hollow Creek, or what the truth was behind her miscarriage confession, Will was no closer to unraveling it. He stepped gently back inside and closed the door behind him. The house felt even hollower now. A half-finished mug was on the kitchen counter. Luna's scarf was draped over the back of the couch. Her presence stayed. Her absence resonated.